is so professional. Your picture's so professional on this iPhone call that you made to me. It's not the goofy. It's not Yano anymore. It's you like in your LinkedIn profile. Why the hell did that happen? Where's my Yano picture? What is this?
Jim,
What?
are you 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, or is this the very first week with an iPhone?
This is the first week, and it's miserable. I don't know how you sheeple do this with iPhones. It's terrible.
I didn't know if my contact or my photo just automatically appears. It's a little,
Yes, it used to be. It used to be when you would call me. The picture I had saved was of Yano, the
it's,
nightmare-inducing, robotic toy puppet from the mid '80s, hiding behind the sink, bathroom sink. And now it's you, your LinkedIn picture. I don't want this. I want this off of here
yeah,
now.
it's a little buttoned up.
Yeah,
I've seen it,
I didn't.
and kind of want to change it out. It's just a little too dressy. Not
I
bad
mean,
for certain.
you look handsome. You look very handsome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You should see the picture that I have for you.
Oh, I think I have seen it. I think you showed it to me once or twice.
It's like it's like
It's super
a
flattering.
zoomed in shot, and you have this look of surprise or
Oh yeah,
astonishment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. I wish you could figure out where that was actually when that was taken. I'd love to know what I was so shocked about.
Gosh, we may never know. I don't know where that picture came from. I don't know where the picture of Lowell came from.
Mm.
You may have seen the one that I
My
that I used for him.
Oh yeah. My picture of Lowell is Vigo the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2. Don't ask me why. I don't like to put actual pictures of the people that call me. Trey Williams is because I think he looks like Roman Harper. It's just a picture of Roman Harper smiling. And then Scott Simpler is the guy from Rocket Man, the goofy Disney movie, not the Elton John biopic. But anywho, what's going on?
Jim, I really called. You'll have to excuse me. I've got this perennial cold. Anybody that's got multiple small children maybe can
Yeah.
relate. You never clear out your throat all the way. You never, you feel good enough, I guess. You just kind of assume that this is just how dads or moms feel with
Flemmy,
these creatures that live in your house and never wash their hands.
these disease carrying these disease carrying
Do you
creatures.
remember when Ever was 4 years old, or whenever she was old enough to, figure out how to wash her hands? And it's a real econo wash. They stick their hands in the sink, and you'll pump the soap into their hands for them, and you'll just watch that little dollop just slide right off the hand and right down the drain. And they rub their hands together like 2.5 times, and they think that's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's why if you're really diligent, you stand over them and make them put more soap on. But as all parents know, you're just like, F this, let's go. Good enough. Not too bad. Good enough.
Oh, you know what? I was actually listening to the D tonight, Tenacious D. I had to go.
Really?
I was sent out for pizza, which I'm usually happy to do. Any excuse to get me out of here and on the road for a few minutes. No complaints.
Yeah.
But I like to put my music on shuffle. And what song came up? Low Hanging Fruit. Man, that one.
Classic.
Don't recommend that for all ages, but great album. That's from the Rise of the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, I wonder
39
sometimes.
drinking white wine. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 39, Roadie, and some of those
Mm-hmm.
songs. How did guys like Jack Black, who just reached these upper echelons of culture and cinema and just esteemed uh, whatever. And they just get away with, or Adam Sandler's first CD, his first album, and the material,
Yeah.
the
Oh
lyrics
yeah.
to like medium pace and all this stuff. How do they get over that? Like that's always out there. They wrote it, they sang it, they spoke it, and now they're doing some kids movie, or they're like, how?
Well, I mean, Jack Black is not, up for Oscars. He's, doing burp and fart comedy still. Um, Adam Sandler's done some, real fine dramatic acting like Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems. But other than that, I mean, they pretty much stick to their lane. That's maybe why they're able to do it. And, they can, if Jim Carrey were to go back today and try to be Fire Marshal Bill or Ace Ventura, people would probably poo-poo it, I bet, because he's
Right.
become an actual dramatic actor, whereas Jack Black is still getting eaten by dinosaur or hippopotami in Jumanji. Um, that's a good question, but yeah, I think it's because they've just always been mostly known as comedic actors, so they can, But also, what the hell happened to me and all that's the Adam Sandler album that you're talking about, and then most of the Tenacious D stuff is just hysterical, but because it's so well written, I mean, it's just funny. There's also, I mean,
Agreed.
there's genius in comedy. You got to be really smart to write really funny stuff and do it for multiple years.
How about speaking of Adam Sandler? I really enjoyed that movie 2022 Hustle. Don't know if you saw that one.
Oh, was that where he was the basketball scout?
Yeah, he's a down on his luck NBA scout, and he discovers this raw but I'm reading right off Wikipedia, a raw but talented basketball player in Spain tries to prepare him
Yeah,
for the NBA draft.
yeah.
I've come to like
Uh,
Sandler a little bit more over the years. There was a period there when he was just putting out multiple whatever comedies, and I was just nope, not interested, not
yeah,
interested for going through those '06, '08, 2010 and 14, just didn't care. Didn't care.
yeah,
He's making money
yeah.
though.
He's making a lot of money. Yeah,
Kind of get it now and kind of respect him, and hey, I mean, he's an American
icon,
he
treasure,
is.
tricon, or Iazure, if you want to combine them.
Right.
I speaking of younger kids, and when Warren and your other two children who I can't remember their names, I'm just kidding.
Are you?
Waylon and Warren,
Wait, I did.
Waylon and Willie and Waylon and me. Uh,
I listened to some Waylon today.
heck yeah. Uh, but yeah, once they get to be, 8, 9, 10, 11, and they're sitting in the same room with you, and you don't have to watch Doc McStuffins or Octonauts or any of that stuff. We really like just this past year because Evers 11 kind of went through Adam Sandler's whole oeuvre, his whole
Mm-hmm.
look at me. So like we rewatched Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, all those, but then also there's a couple on Netflix that I guess were made for Netflix called Murder Mystery with
Mm-hmm.
him and Jennifer Aniston, and then all the ones with him and Drew Barrymore are actually really entertaining. But I'm with you, yeah, a lot of those between '08 and 14 and 16 are kind of not in my wheelhouse, but
I think
he's
I
still
got up
hilarious.
to. I watched a lot of people or guys might not confess to this, but 50 First Dates. I thought it was a pretty charming movie.
Oh, great movie.
Love that one. I was up there. I was right there with them through Waterboy and not so much like maybe Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Yeah.
That was maybe Big Daddy was kind of the drop off, which is a long time ago.
Yeah, that was probably almost 20 years. That might be 20 years old.
But anyway, I was talking to Travis about 1999. It's 25 years ago, and just come to have an appreciation for some of the actors or musicians or bands that are just still around, and maybe they weren't setting your world on fire all this time, but you just look and see them out there representing their craft, and hey, the tip of the hat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim, I got to ask you here. This is really what I wanted to get to. Your fantasy football team. I've never seen
Gosh.
so many red Q's and O's and IRs on one roster. How are you handling? My gosh, I'm looking at your bench, and it's just there's nowhere to go. There's no fresh player to stick in there. You've got
Yeah.
McCaffrey on the IR, Cooper Kupp out,
Mm-hmm. Has
Devontae
been for
Adams
4 weeks.
out,
Hasn't played for 3 weeks.
Brian Robertson
Yeah.
Jr. out,
Yeah.
Taysom Hill, you guessed it, out.
Yeah.
Now you're getting into the starting lineup, and you're just praying that these guys clear the injury report by Sunday, right? I mean, Jacoby Myers,
Mm-hmm.
questionable. Ingram,
Yep.
tight end, questionable.
Yeah.
What?
Evan Ingram's been out for 4 weeks too. He pulled a hammy in warm-ups, pregame warm-ups in the second game. I've never heard of that happening ever. Somebody getting injured. And that's why you warm up, so you don't get injured. So does he need a pre-game warm-up where he warms up for his warm-up so he doesn't get injured? I've never. That sums up my team perfectly. What you just said is correct, but my team is so bad that my starting tight end has been out for 4 weeks because he injured himself warming up to play the game, not even in a game. So
How do you
I
like
had
this?
the A+ draft. Oh my gosh.
So Ingram, you can't drop him, can't stick him on the IR. Taysom's unavailable, and the note
Mm-hmm.
here on Evan Ingram, given that he's officially listed as questionable, his Week 6 status won't be confirmed until the Jaguars' inactives are posted ahead of Sunday's 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff in London.
9:30 a.m. So, yeah, so I'm gonna have to be paying attention while I'm drinking my coffee, or I'm gonna have a tight end to start that day. I mean, it's terrible, man. And I mean, I know it's a game and it's goofy, and I really, I don't want anybody to be hurt. Of course, I don't want anybody to be hurt, and their health is more important than my stupid fantasy football team. But I've been snake bit this year. It's been tough, harder than I ever remember.
Well, you're 2-3. You could be 1-4, 0-5. So you're hanging in there. It's a long season.
Yeah.
Speaking of another, well, you're not a coach, but you're a manager, but a head coach that was 2-3. Not great, but Week 5. How many guys get fired in Week 5? Robert Saleh did.
Ooh,
New York
yeah.
Jets. Jim, agree, disagree, or indifferent on the Saleh dismissal?
Oh man, I mean, I'd have to say I disagree because I think even them at 2-3, they're within sniffing distance of the NFC East. The NFC East is so bad. The Bills, everybody thought would run roughshod over everyone else, and Josh Allen is not playing up to his potential. I think he's missing, Stephon Diggs, and nobody's really stepped up. And the Patriots are just god awful, and the Dolphins can't do anything without Tua. But I have no idea. I'm not an actual NFL insider, but it feels like Aaron Rodgers just didn't like Salah, and they have to win now because Rodgers is almost our age. So I guess Rodgers didn't like him, and so he said to get rid of him.
He's
Plus, there's just, there's something about losing that game in London because it's always just such a stinker. And so if you lose the London game, you look even worse because it's just never a good game, it seems like.
Yeah, the Jets are at the bottom of almost every meaningful offensive category this year. And look at last year's, not much different. Rodgers in the press right now is trying to beat back some of the rumors that he had anything to do with Saleh's exit.
Yeah, that's bull crap. I mean, that's not true.
I just look at it's just an odd. I mean, you're kind of left with what I've read as somebody quoting an absolute mess.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff
And
Albrecht.
they escorted the poor guy out of the building. Like, I mean, the security guards and stuff, like the old fill up this cardboard box with all the stuff from your desk and get out. He didn't even get to address the team. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he said something or did something that'll come to light later because it was
I did hear
it was a harsh way to let the guy go.
Maybe he had some parting words.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear earlier or last week that the Jets are the most penalized team in the league-wide.
Yeah, that could lead to it. But
I kind of agree that falls on the head coach. It's a poor
Hmm.
reflection, but I really liked Saleh going back a few years.
I did too. I thought,
Great,
when they were on Hard Knocks, he was great. Yeah.
great defensive mind. I don't think it's going to be too long before he's somebody's defensive coordinator. He might get another shot at being a head coach somewhere. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I agree 100%. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think their offense has been putrid, but I think their defense has been really good. And like you said, he's a defensive minded coach. And guess who runs the offense for him that's so crappy? It's Nathaniel Hackett, the guy who is Aaron Rodgers' best friend. So, if the offense stinks, shouldn't you fire the offensive coordinator and start there instead of the head coach? But
Well, and I didn't
uh,
know this until today, a little bit earlier, but they made a change. I guess Hackett's out.
ooh,
Todd
okay.
Downing. Todd Downing now calling the plays on
Was
offense.
he already on the staff?
Believe so.
Okay. Well, that's huge. I take back my statement. I'm surprised they let Hackett go. But yeah, getting back to your original question, I think Salah will end up somewhere as a D coordinator, do a little bit of the career rehab, and he'll absolutely be a head coach again somewhere in the NFL. I mean, I think he's obviously going to be a good coach. Just needs to hitch his wagon to a better offensive coordinator, probably.
How do you feel about this? Is so open ended, but what are your thoughts right now? Let's get it on record. October 11th, 2024. Hugh Freeze at Auburn.
Oh
Is this
gosh.
is this
Oh,
the man?
Lord. um, I yeah, I mean, I didn't like him. I don't like him. I didn't like the hire. I felt like it was Gus Jr. I don't think he's done a whole lot to dispel that feeling in my eyes in the first 2 years, especially this year when, you have Jarquez Hunter there who's basically gets you 80 yards and you get on the 1 yard line and you put in a third string tailback to do the Wildcat. The Wildcat is not going to happen, everybody. Stop running the Wildcat. It does not work. And it's just totally a thing Gus would do. And I don't know. I was looking forward to having somebody come in who would run a little bit different offense. So yeah, that is open ended. I hope he works out. I think he can work out. He's recruiting amazingly, which is what if you want to survive in college football with NIL and basically pay for play, you have to be an excellent recruiter, and he's obviously that. I worry that he's not really a players coach, which sometimes can backfire because it seems like he's kind of throwing the players under the bus a little bit. But Harson, we have one senior on our whole team from Harson's lone recruiting class while he was there. So, I mean, the cupboard is pretty bare, but yeah, I hope he works out. I think he will work out. I think we're probably what's the thing everybody likes to say? We're the best 2-4 team in the country. Um, but I mean, the losses we have, especially the ones that looked really bad 2 weeks ago, Cal and Arkansas. Arkansas beat Tennessee. Cal should have beat Miami. Scored way more points on Miami. We held Cal to their lowest point total of the year. Arkansas to their lowest point total of the year. So I hope that Hugh can get it turned around. We have a bye week. We'll win that this week. We'll take care of bye, and then it's a whole new season. Would love to get to a bowl game, maybe upset Alabama. I don't know. It's hard to upset Alabama nowadays. Have you heard? Is Alabama having any trouble on the football field with teams they should easily beat?
I still can't understand. I can't understand what happened. How? I mean, just not that we could never ever lose to Vandy ever again, but
You got
my,
whooped, Dan. You got whooped. Easy as that.
you know, I made a kind of a broad claim that Saban knew that something like this was coming down the pike. Do you think that he got out, or part of the reason that he decided to wrap it up when he did was he did not want to be standing there on that field in Nashville one day, whether it's this season or next season, and is this entirely on DeBoer and his staff?
I think that's two-parted. So I would say no. I don't think Saban anticipated that, and I don't think Saban would have told you in 10 years he would have lost to Vanderbilt. I think he did see the writing on the wall when he is not a fan of the NIL stuff, like I talked about with Hugh Freeze. I don't think that was the game Saban wanted to play. And yeah, I think it is on DeBoer. I think a good coach after a game like Georgia. I mean, that was a hell of a game. You can't forget that Alabama beat Georgia the week before. Had them on the ropes, let them back into it, which is not good. You see that their defense is kind of, or your defense is kind of suspect. But yeah, I mean, I think Saban would tell you that, after a game like Georgia, the next game is one of the hardest games you play every season because you got to get your guys up and ready and hyped to play, another team. The big determination on the board for this year will be tomorrow, whether or not Alabama beats South Carolina by 35 points or not. If it's another close, come down to the wire, y'all only win by, 7 to 10 points, I would start to get a little bit nervous. Because even with the recruiting classes you have and the talent you have on campus, you still have to have a good coach. You look what A&M, they imploded. They had the number one recruiting class, and Jimbo got fired.
I think this
So,
is probably going to be the most nerve-wracked that Bama Nation has been
hmm
in, I'm going to say, 20 years going into an SEC game. Not any game, but, against somebody like the Gamecocks or Kentucky. Let's say we're playing Kentucky this week or we're playing Mizzou. Just this unprecedented, oddly placed worry. I mean, do you agree that Bama fans are pretty on edge?
oh yeah. I mean, I don't know that they're on edge. I think they're pissed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would be on edge. Yeah, I take that back. Yeah, I think they're on edge. And looking at it, South Carolina's at Alabama would be a whole different story if y'all were at South Carolina because I would bet the house on South Carolina plus 21.5. But I think
Do you think
I think if I think you'll kill them.
you think
I
Bama's?
think you'll win by 30 points.
I think we're probably going to go out there and just beat the Cocks.
Worst they've ever been bet on. You're gonna beat the brakes off of them. How about that?
I want to pivot to another precarious situation here in Birmingham with our UAB Blazers.
Oh, green for the money, gold for the honey.
Losers of four straight. We lost
Mm,
by just under 50 point margin to Tulane at home. Tulane's a great team.
mm,
Doesn't get any easier tomorrow at Army.
mm.
UAB is a 4-touchdown underdog. How bad could this be
God,
for Trent
at
Dilfer
Army. Oh,
and his team?
I mean, dude, it continues just the ineptitude of the UAB program, and the conspiracy theorist in me wants to say it's all Alabama's meddling. And forgive me, I don't remember the dude's name, but the guy that took over for Bill Clark, the longtime assistant, we were humming right along. I mean, that's the guy you hire. He goes to La Monroe, and I think La Monroe beat UAB this year.
Yeah.
And instead, they're like, let's hire Trent Dilfer because he's, a former ESPN washout. He's coaching high school football. I mean, I don't know if they thought it would be like Dion coming in and making the splash where nobody wants to go watch Trent Dilfer coach football. Deion Sanders, yeah, you show up for prime time, but he's just been an immense failure, and it's almost like this is what they want. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in this day and age to see them get shut down again, which would be a shame because it's neat to have them here, like you said, as our alma mater. But
I mean,
fan support is already slim, and this doesn't. You're a 4-touchdown underdog to Army for crying out loud. I mean,
we were a
bad.
19-point underdog to Tulane. So I wasn't expecting us to win that game, but 71-20 final score.
hmm
We're at Army. Then we're at South Florida. This is a bloodbath coming up.
Mm-hmm.
At home against Tulsa. Then UConn at Memphis, Rice, and at Charlotte. I'm really looking at maybe two more wins this year. But
Yeah, Tulsa's not great, I don't think, looking at records, but yeah, they're really bad, and it's sad what's happened to them. They should have really built off that Bill Clark legacy and hired Danny DeVito or whatever. I don't know his name. I'm sorry. That guy, it shows you how well you up
I'm,
with it.
I mean, last season I really enjoyed watching their quarterback Jacob Zeno. I don't get to watch all the games, but I got to say that this falls on Mark Ingram the AD at UAB. I think this thing gets a little uglier. He's out of here.
Yeah, we should be. But then who do you go get? I mean, can you entice the guy? I mean, I think UAB. I think it's La Monroe where the dude went, and I think UAB's a more attractive job than La Monroe. So maybe get him to come back and try to work a little bit of that Bill Clark magic. Basketball is going to be good though. Andy Kennedy and them boys got it going. So
Let's get back to Saleh for just a second. Want to wrap up on him. Do you see a situation where he accepts a college coaching job? Now, going back about 20 years or so, he did start his coaching career in the college ranks. Offensive assistant, tight ends with Michigan State, 2002. Then he moves on to Central Michigan, Georgia, 2005. Could you see Saleh taking an SEC job?
okay, I thought you were angling to try to get
UAB.
Robert Saleh the UAB job.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that would be the home run of all home runs. No, I mean, again, I only know him from watching him on Hard Knocks, but he seems like a NFL guy to me.
Yeah.
And his DC credentials were so impressive. I mean, look at like Dan Quinn, who just flamed out miserably in Atlanta. He had a
Real
lot of his
shame.
mojo stolen from it, yeah. But it was hard for them to ever recover from 28-3 with the Patriots or whatever that was. So I think that was kind of a mental thing. But he goes to Dallas, and you see how bad their defense is since he left, and how great he's doing at Washington, even though it's their offense that looks so good. And you know who their offensive coordinator is. Talking about getting another job next year, Cliff Kingsbury. So I think way around the world to answer your question. I think Saleh probably just stays in the NFL and takes a DC job somewhere and hopes to get a second shot as the head coach.
Jim, I want to shift gears one more time, maybe a couple more times. We're at the half-hour mark, and I don't want these episodes to go 90 minutes like they used to. It's a lot of work for me.
Sure, yeah.
I know you're not really, once the Cubs are out of the picture, you don't really, maybe you turn one eye to the playoffs during a commercial break or something, or do you?
No.
You don't watch any of it, do you?
No. Baseball, to me, Dan, unless it's the Cubs, for television, I mean, I'll watch some of the World Series maybe, if it's intriguing, if the matchup's intriguing, but I'm very much a fair weather fan. I love live baseball. I think it's my favorite sport to watch live. But my goodness, watching on TV, I just can't do it. Even the pitch clock has been great, but yeah, I'm just not a big baseball on TV guy. There's so many other things to watch that I could be watching instead of baseball, personally.
Well, I vehemently disagree with you. I think it's such a better product than it was. If you just compare it to when we were in high school watching on TV, it's so much better. But I understand. And some of the...
Well, who are you rooting for? I'm sorry to interrupt you. You go ahead. I'd love to hear who you're rooting for still.
In the National League, I'd like to see the Padres. I made a prediction, I think, last week to Jim or Lowell and Travis. I'm calling a Padres Guardians World Series.
Whoa.
Both these teams are still in it. Alternately, I would actually love to see Yankees Mets. That's a Subway Series rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees Padres would be great.